Listen, I'm gonna be honest, I frickin' love Reaper. And look, everything has its pros and cons. Reaper has like no instruments and like some very dated built-in effects plugins. However, there is no other DAW on the market that has such a high degree of customizability and flexibility in its workflow, and that's important to me. However, did you know that Reaper actually has its own programming language called EEL2? Frankly, I don't know what happened to the first EEL, but people have been using EEL2 in very creative ways to make some absolutely phenomenal effects plugins and instruments. Most of them are free, and they can pretty much all be installed from within the Reaper DAW itself, which is pretty cool. I will show you how to do this at the end of the video, but for now I just want to show you some of my favourite free EEL2 JSFX Reaper plugins. Alright, I gotta close the window for this one, because I don't want the neighbours to hear this. I love big reverbs. Valhalla Shimmer is one of my favourite plugins, and Abyss Reverb is pretty similar. Watch this, I'm gonna do the Dune soundtrack thing. It's very cool. I'm sorry I put you through that, but I'm also just not sorry at all. So, to give some context here, basically Amaranth is like this granular software sampler. So once you have a sample you like, you can just pause the playback and like change where it's playing from, as I'm doing here. You can increase the length and the variance to get these different grains of different lengths. And it's just a really weird, spooky soundscape. Very folklorish. And then of course you can stack other effects on top of it to increase the weirdness, I guess. So, upwards compression. It's pretty much the same as normal compression, except it boosts anything below the threshold amount, and that makes it sound just as extreme as you might think. Ravager in particular has a multi-band approach, so for example you can absolutely destroy the lows while leaving the highs relatively intact on any given instrument, or the opposite, whichever you want. Just a pretty all-round awesome sonic tool. Okay, look, the built-in EQ on Reaper is serviceable. It's not the best in the world. It's pretty old looking. So ReEQ is basically just a basic parametric equalizer for Reaper. It's much better than the default one, and surprisingly, this is like one of the only plugins on this list that isn't made by Saike. But it's just an all-round great EQ, and definitely better than the built-in one, I think. So give it a go. Just like Amaranth, SEQS is one of those effects plugins that will like kind of blow your mind when you find out just how many different things you can do with it. In this case, I started out with this kind of like electric keys, just like a normal loop. And the sort of things you can do in this, it's crazy. You can basically re-trigger samples, add like delay, reversing, but it's all done on a grid, which I think is really cool. It is basically just a sequencer, but for effects instead of instruments. I think that's a pretty novel idea. So with the help of SEQS plus a few other plugins on top of it, I was able to basically just completely transform this keys loop. So there you have it. Those are my 5 favourite free Reaper JSFX plugins. Now, how do you install them, I hear you ask? Well, that's the interesting part. So you want to head on over to the ReaPack website and download whichever version is correct for your operating system. I'm going to use Windows. Back in Reaper, you want to open up the options menu and just select Show Reaper Resource Path in Explorer/Finder. Click that. Then we're going to take the ReaPack DLL file that we downloaded, and we're just going to go ahead and put it in the user plugins folder. So now I'm just going to restart Reaper, and then we need to add the repository for the plugins we want to install. So I'm going to go to Saike's JSFX GitHub page, it's linked in the description below, and we're just going to copy this repository link. And then what we're going to do is go back to Reaper, hit the extensions menu, go to ReaPack, and we're just going to go import repository and paste the link in. After that, we should be good to go, so we can go back to ReaPack, browse packages, and you can see that we now have a very large list of plugins we can install. You can search this list, obviously, and once you've found one that you're happy with, just select it, and then right-click, install, and hit apply. Thank you so much for watching to the end. If you enjoyed it, a like would be much appreciated, and I'll see you guys next time.